Hello viewers, welcome to CodeForAny. E-commerce app Flutter's inside. Today we need to start this here. The project setups need to set up here, and we need to first of all the needed all informations we need to add here. First of all, we need to remove here the unused platforms. We need to remove here the Linux, Windows, and Mac OS. We need to remove here. As also need to remove here the web and test folders. If you no need time to remove here, so otherwise need to sometime need to getting here the warnings. That's why I need to remove here everything. Unused codes you need to remove here, so need to deleting here like this. And trust how to create like these projects. You need to go inside here the created projects folders. You need to first of all the go, and we need to use this here the cd commands, and we need to give this here the path of the folders which place we need to creating like this projects. And we need to write down here the commands. Need to flutters create dash dash org, and to give this here the com dates organization name. We need to give this here the com dot code for any, and then after this one is the project names we need to set here, and enter press to create like this here the directory. And unused platforms we need to removing here. Now we need to need it. First of all, we need to directory structures we need to create here. First of all, we need to one structures we need inside. We need to need this here the asset folders. We need to create here the assets, create here the new folders, not new files, sorry for. And we need to write down here the assets, like here's assets. Inside we need to create here the two folders. First one is the fonts, like here's, and second one is the image folders. Inside we need to set here the img, like here's fonts. Inside we need to set here the metropolis fonts we need to use here. So we need to use this here, like here. So we need to setting here the metropolis, like we need to configure this font. And also need to uncomment these codes of this here the assets, and we need to configure this here the image folders, and font folders also need to configurations are the needs here. Now we need to uncomment these codes, and we need to give this here the select here, and we need to copy this relative path, and we need to paste here on use. We need to remove here, and need to entire all project need to declare like this. Need to all image folders inside all assets need to get, and need to save here, and like this configurations are the needs here. And we need to also configure this here the fonts. We need to uncomment this code for the fonts, and need to give this here the font names metropolis. Need to rename here, and we need to copy this font name, and we need to set here the metropolis. And also need to use this here weight. We need to need here, so need to remove here the italics, like here weight. And first ones we need to give this here the regular font. We need to copy this relative path, give this here this regular font. Then after semi bold, copy relative path, and we need to paste this here the semi bolds. We need to set here the 600. Again we need to copy and to set here the medium and bold font. First ones need to copy relative path for the bold, and to set here the 700 for the bold. And we need to also configure this here the medium part, copy relative path, and we need to replace with this, and we need to set here the 500. Like this is the subspace related to form configurations are the needs here, and we need to configure this here. Now we need to show how to get here the users inside. We need to how we need to configure this here the related need to use here, and need to many types of the text styles we need to show here. So need to headings, then after the here to setting to show here the headings as the heading fonts metropolis, and 30 ports like this. We need to managing this here. So now every fonts like this need to declare our projects, but we need to first of all the configure this font here full screens, and we need to set here the project names as a e-commerce, like here clean here. And also need to debug banners. I need to set here the false, and unused class code need to remove here. No need this everything. Need to clean here. And we need to create here the another folders. First ones need to common folders. Inside we need to all common utility class we need to put here. Then after another folders common widget. Inside we need to like here the text fields buttons. Like this commonly widgets need to create some to create here the one time and multiple views. Like this we need to use here widget like here widgets common widgets. Then after we need to create here the screen folders. Inside we need to all UI screens need to put. Inside we need to create here the new folders login sign in flow sign in sign maybe login flow is okay. Then after home like please we need to create here login inside create here the new files and we need to set this here the login underscore screen dots like this right down here and we need to create here the stateful widgets and to give this here the login screen name and we need to create here the scaffold and this screen are done and we need to replace with this here the const value login screen like here we need to configurations are the needs here. Now common widgets inside we need to create here the most important parts we need to use here. We need to creating here the color extensions, create here the new files, set here the color extension, color underscore extensions. Now need to create here the class color. These brackets need to write down here the static color. Get need to set here the primary color. Primary. We need to set here the const color and we need to give this here the x value like here. Need to create here the multiple tabs and we need to write down here the primary then after secondary then after need to create here the primary text secondary text means then after need to set here the white text then after need to configure this here the placeholder again so need to copy this is the commonly used here the active inactive color also need to needs here sometimes need to segment buttons switch like this that's why need to active inactive colors need to need here and last ones need to needs here the bg colors background colors need to use here. Now every colors need to how to get here we need to go here and look like this here the list of colors need to use inside this Figma inside it is entire theme so need to use this colors so need to give this here the one by one so all colors first of all need to set here the background colors we need to copy this background colors and we need to set this like here then after so need to go inside here the primary colors this is the black colors for the text primary text and gray colors is the placeholders we need to use here for placeholders secondary text then after need to primary colors use these primary colors and we need to replace this here primary colors. Then after we need to set here the secondary success colors. We need to give this as a secondary colors of this theme. Copy, and we need to paste as a secondary. Then after remaining colors as a white colors, need to check here the white color, a white text. Placeholders also same this here the secondary text. We need to copy and paste this here. Like here secondary. Active inside we need to set here the primary. Maybe active inactive no needs need to clean here. And this is our the creating here the color extension class. Now also another extension class, common extension class. Need to develop here, create here the new files, and we need to write down here the common extension dot dots. Like here the write down here. Common extension inside we need to create here the one most important. We need to extend here the build context files. We need to here. We need to use this here the commonly use this here the screen size. Inside we need to use here the width and heights. Maybe some widgets inside the this percentage of the width we need to set. Like this we need to configurations. We need to need this here the every times need to get this here the media inside need to get this here the size of screens to need to getting here. We need to directly use this here the width variables need to declare here. Like this is most important parts of the this projects. And every project inside you need to need this here this extensions and to easy to write down here the every codes need to no need every times need to write down here the media query size ops, and this contents we need to pass this here the every times like this line of codes we need to short codes we need to apply here. Now we need to create here the extensions, implement here extensions, and we need to give this here the app context on. We need to write down here on methods, and build context we need to configure here extend here. We need to get this here first of all the size as a get size equal to need to get here the media query of media query size of, and we need to give this here the context as a this variables. Now we need to get this here the doubles get width to typo here width, and we need to use this here the size dot width like here same as need to get here the height is equal to need to write down here the sized box dot height like here, and we need to use this here the most important methods. We need to push methods, how to write down here the navigation shortcuts methods for the push every widgets we need to pushing here to one line. We need to write down here, so we need to call here the flutter features, and we need to write down here the push methods. We need to call here widgets. We need to pass here any widgets. We need to write down here the widget, and since methods need to calls return this here, and we need to call this here the navigator dot push methods we need to call here. Inside context inside we need to give this here the this context, and routes need to create here the material routes page, and builder inside we need to create here the context. Then after so need to return this here the widgets semicolons, like we need to write down here the push, and then after we need to call this here the futures pop since methods pop the screen, so we need to write down here the return dot navigator dot pop context inside we need to pass this here the this and semicolons like this we need to calling here and integrations are the need here. Then after we need to create here the alerts. Need to most important extensions MD extension MD alert extensions, not MD alert extensions. On we need to write down here the use this here the state like this creates here, and we need to write down here the void show alert and so need to false. Need this here the string as a title string dot message and void callbacks for the OK buttons on press event. If you need here the any and if you need here the changing the titles of the action buttons, then plan to pass this here the string dot button title. By default need to set here. Okay. And sometimes need to change this here the alignments of the text. I need to write down here main axis alignment. Is equal to need to write down here the text alignment dot centers need to use here commonly and is force. Set here the force. Like here's creating like this here the brackets and we need to call here the show dialog methods. Give this here the context as I need to pass this here the context and builders inside we need to use this here the Cupertino alert dialogs we need to use this years Cupertino alert dialog. Inside we need to set here the titles as the text title. Write down here the semicolons. Need to set here the content. Inside we need to write down here the text. Set here the message variable. Then after actions, create here the Cupertino dialog action. Create here the childs inside you need to set this here the text button title like yours. Is default sections you need to set here the true. Then after on press event need to write down here. Get like this brackets and use this here the context dot pop and need to on press events again need to call this here grids and set here the fix this here the move children property and here's need to barriers. This means we need to set this here the this for like here's like this we need to creating here the show alerts. Now we need to two buttons alerts also need to making here for the sometimes need this here the are you sure like these buttons need to put needs here alert two button two button like here and need to okay and another button's name cancel like here and we need to write down here the okay press cancel press like here and we need to write down here the cancel of these titles like these configurations are the needs here managing these here on press 2 need to write down here the on okay button titles okay title another actions copy here paste this here and we need to set this here the default actions need to set here the false on cancel press and we need to titles also need to change for here cancel title like this here the managing this here the alert two buttons we need to developing here and then after last ones we need to making this here the importance need to end of this call these brackets inside need to void and edit like here we need to create here the and edits we need to use this here the focus scope and focus of context dots need to create here the request focus focus node create new focus nodes and keyboards like this here the needs here for the commonly use this here this importance now we need to managing this here the theme structures we need to manage here first ones we need to set this here the titles then after we need to theme data inside we need to set here the family font family use this here the metropoly text we need to given this here now need to go here the pub space and we need to copy this here the metropolis and we need to replace this here like then after the scaffold backgrounds colors we need to set here scaffold background colors we need to set here the tg.bc colors like here then after the color schemes inside we need to set this here the primary colors we need to set here as a theme color dot primary like here then after we need to use this here the use material themes we need to set this here the false then after we need to set here the f bar themes inside we need to set here the f bar theme we need to set this here the colors we need to set here color white text for the backgrounds and evolutions we need to set here the 0 this is are the needs for the every projects need to commonly need to use here need to explain in details if you like this video please give the thumbs up if you're new user so please subscribe my channels and press the notification bell icon you can get every new video notifications and awesome content if you have any question so please write down the comment section so I will help you and sort out your issue everyone have a nice day goodbye and take care